Hello everybody, my name is Conrad Shay. I'm here to talk to you today about climate change. So first off, 97% of all scientists today agree that climate change is indeed happening. And of that 97%, 84 agree that there is human impact on this cycle. Now, climate change is, in fact, the greatest threat to humanity at this time, and it affects every single person on this planet. Now, my goal today is to bring awareness to the effects and the potential solutions of these effects. Now, if you don't think anything's happening, all you really have to do is go outside. The past 3 winters have been the hottest in our recorded history. And even down in South Florida, where I'm from, most of our coral reefs are dead, and they're not coming back. So, to put this into a broader perspective, if you put a trend line to the increasing temperatures of the past 30 years, you can have a forecast of the next century, and we face a potential 5 degrees Celsius increase, which means death for life on planet Earth. But first, we need to accept that climate change is happening, and we need to accept human involvement so we can seek to reduce our impact on this cycle. Where we look to the beginning of our impact is in the Industrial Revolution. Carbon dioxide and methane levels have been increasing on unparalleled rates in Earth's history. Since the Industrial Revolution, carbon dioxide has increased from 280 to 380 parts per million. That's a 39% increase and is the highest concentration in the past 2 million years. And methane, on the other hand, has increased from 700 to 1,700 parts per billion, which is a 144% increase, and is the highest concentration in the past 650,000 years. Now, this doesn't sound like much, but when CO2 and methane are in high concentrations in our atmosphere, they create a greenhouse effect, which traps heat and deteriorates our ozone layer, which, again, raises temperatures. Now, this CO2 also has a profound effect on our oceans, which absorb 1/3 of all emissions. More on why that's a problem later. Now, this increase in temperature also has drastic effects with our sea level by melting polar ice caps and glaciers in the north. Worst case scenario we have right now is a 23-foot increase in sea level, which would mean the entirety of Southeast United States, South Africa, Pacific Island states, and even London would be underwater. This would create the largest migrant crisis the Earth has ever seen. And this is why the Pentagon rates climate change as one of the top national security threats. To quote Major General Munir Ruzaman, who is the chairman of the Global Military Advisory Council on Climate Change, we're going to see refugee problems on an unprecedented scale, potentially up to 30 million people. That dwarfs the modern Syrian crisis we have today. Even a minor 3-foot increase would displace millions of people. Now, to return to what I said earlier about 1/3 of carbon emissions being absorbed by the ocean, this is called ocean acidification. Now, the past 300 million years, the ocean has maintained a balance never below or above 8.2 pH. In the past 200 years, from the start of the Industrial Revolution, pH has dropped from 8.2 to 8.1, which is a 25% increase in acidity. Now, if we continue this trend, in the next 100 years, we'll drop another 0.5 pH, which is disastrous. The ocean is incredibly sensitive, and these marine mammals and species depend on this balance. And if we lose the oceans, millions of people will lose their number one food source, countries like Japan and China, and millions more will lose their income when they depend on ocean-related economic activities like tourism in Australia and Central America. And continuing with this dropping pH and increasing temperatures in our oceans, this affects the ocean's most important ecosystem, which are coral reefs. Coral reefs are home to 25% of all marine life and are the breeding grounds for the majority of marine species. And it takes thousands of years for coral reefs to grow to where they're at now. And right now, they're experiencing a pandemic called bleaching. And when they're exposed to these extreme temperatures and extreme acidic pH levels, they release the symbiotic algae, which is what keeps them alive and allows them to expand further. And once it's released, they're not coming back. And right now, we're losing 1% of all coral reefs every year. In total, we've already lost 80% of all coral reefs in the Caribbean, 50% in the Pacific, 95% in the Galapagos Islands, and over half of the Great Barrier Reef. Now, we can't ignore scientists and their data any longer. And we can't elect people that are openly against climate change. Otherwise, we'll keep compounding these effects. We have the power to help, and regardless of party, we all suffer if this goes unchecked. So this all sounds pretty bunk, but if we turn it around, our government has the opportunity to do this. We need to focus on cheap, clean energy and invest and expand the base that we already have. We have plenty of solar, geothermal, and wind companies right now. And we need to follow the footsteps of young entrepreneurs like Elon Musk and his gigawatt factory. This gigawatt factory uses solar power to store the solar energy in batteries. Now, 200 of these factories could make the United States of America energy independent and completely renewable. This would cut our emissions to zero from what they are now. And that'd be a great step. Now, what can you do as the individual? Well, you have the power to vote for officials that support changes like this and policies like this. And not only that, you can recycle and use less disposable materials like plastics that would reduce landfill mass and your own carbon footprint. And again, if we do nothing, we face a catastrophe unlike anything else in Earth's history. Famine, death, and immigration on an unprecedented scale. See, as you see now, climate change is more than just global warming. It's sea level rise, ocean acidification, and extreme conditions. We need to recognize our involvement and recognize that it is indeed happening. We have the power to help, but we have to start now before the effects become irreversible. Thank you. That's my speech. Oh, no.